everyone, and welcome to Real Life Talks. I'm your host, Yvonne Heath, author of the book Love Your Life to Death, and founder of the I Just Showed Up movement. So joining me today is a very special person that I love you. I love this woman, Patti Hanrath. And hello, Patti, welcome.
Hello, Yvonne. Thank you so much for having me here.
I'm honored that you're here, and I'm just going to brag about you a little bit here, if that's all right.
Sure.
So Patti,
brag away.
Yeah, brag away. But I love what you do, because you coach high-achieving women who are trying to navigate some kind of adversity to still live life fully, and you created Kinergy Leadership.
Yes.
KinergyLeadership.com. Check it out, everyone. And so this is something you've been doing for the last few years. So let's start with that journey, and then we'll get to the other stuff.
Okay. Well, previous to that, I spent over 24 years, around 24 years, working leading customer service teams in the Bank of Montreal.
Okay.
And that life transitioned into marrying my current husband, Joe, which brought me from London to Muskoka. And I worked with Joe for the first few years of living in Muskoka, supporting him in his construction company, building custom homes and dealing with customers and stuff like that. And then when we became empty nesters, it was very evident to me that construction was not my passion.
That's weird. Okay, yes.
So I just decided to go on a little journey of what the next season of my life was going to look like.
Good for you.
And there's a whole story behind that, but we'll save that for another day. But anyways, I ended up becoming a certified coach and starting my own business. And I just absolutely love what I do.
Right.
Love what I do.
Yeah, I mean, you've had tremendous mentors.
Yes.
Like
one of my main mentors is John Maxwell.
Yes.
World-renowned leadership guru, really.
Yes, incredible.
Yeah, I've been so blessed with so many amazing mentors in my life. And maybe I'll put this little plug in. Just very recently,
Go for it.
was awarded the Mentorship Award at the Women of Distinction.
Right. In Muskoka, in Huntsville.
So
good for you.
Yes,
that's extraordinary.
It is.
Yes.
And it was a very humbling experience. And it really, even the nomination just kind of really caused me to really think about mentorship and what that means.
The importance of it.
Yes.
It matters. Mentorship matters. And yes.
And as I shared that night, and I think it's relevant to what we're going to be talking about today, as I mentioned that evening, that whether we believe we're in a formal mentorship relationship or not, we're mentoring somebody. Somebody is watching our journey.
Absolutely.
And how we walk our journey can be so much more impactful than what we ever think it could be, just by what we're doing, what we're saying, how we're living.
100%. By your example,
exactly.
of the way you live your life.
That's right.
Yes, extraordinary. So this career change took place about 7 years ago.
Yes.
And you were loving it, and you had and I know that, well, obviously you won this award, Women of Distinction Mentorship, so that your mentorship meant a great deal to many, I know. And you also, in Muskoka, you co-founded Connect the Brilliance.
Yes.
I love this wonderful movement.
With my friend Christine Kropp, who owns Whimsical Bakery in Huntsville, we decided in August of 2015, we felt there was a gap in providing a space and an opportunity for professional women to really come together, grow together, mentor each other, help each other, encourage each other, and just hang out sometimes.
Connect, collaborate, learn, support. Yes.
Really connect with their brilliance. I mean, that's where the whole name comes in, Connect the Brilliance, because we all have so much more brilliance in us than what we quite often give ourselves credit for.
Right. And the thing that I love is it's women celebrating women, and we need to do that more, right?
Yes.
We need to connect and collaborate and celebrate each other. And so I love that. And so this journey, the last started 7 years ago. This new, from moving to Muskoka, a new community, to working with Joe and his construction, empty nest, realizing you needed a change, embracing this new change. How wonderful everything was.
Yes.
Until it wasn't. Yes.
Yes.
So tell us what started to change about was it
Yeah,
4 years ago?
August 2015. I remember it like it was
Distinctly.
yesterday.
So leading up, like what, share that journey leading up to that.
Well, Joe and I, first of all, had built our beautiful dream home. Joe being a builder, we'd built our dream home, and part of that was office that we shared together. It was a beautiful space overlooking the fields and whatever. And one day we're sitting in our office working, and Joe says to me, "Hey, honey, can you help me out with this?" And I said, "Okay, what's going on?" And he couldn't figure out how to do 10% of a number on the calculator. And
Right.
understanding, Joe's a custom home builder
Right.
and doing calculations and numbers
Sure,
all day
all the
long.
time.
But anyways, I showed him and it still wasn't clicking in. And finally, I just ended up doing the numbers. We're both busy, got lots going on. And it was one of those things that kind of stood up, but there was lots going on with life.
Stress.
Stress.
Overwhelmed.
Exactly.
Sure.
That's how we chalked it up, and we just kept on going until 2 weeks later, Labor Day weekend, his brother and sister-in-law came up to visit us, and Joe's family's always been really big card players. And we sat down to play euchre, and Joe couldn't remember how to play euchre, what the bowers were for, and it was like, oh my gosh,
What is happening?
this is huge. Something serious is going on here. So that really started us on our trail of doctor's appointments and
Trying
the
to figure out
search
what
to
was
try
going
to figure out what was going on. And initially, after quite a few doctor's appointments and different things, the initial prognosis was depression and PTSD, which was kind of scary at the time, but we felt it was very doable. It was something that we can work with, and he can get better, and life can resume.
Right, and PTSD being post-traumatic stress disorder,
Right.
which is very prevalent in our society,
Absolutely.
sadly.
Yeah, yeah.
So you're working, you have a diagnosis, let's work with that.
Right, right. However, things were not improving. And the cognitive issues that I was certainly noticing and other people were noticing with Joe continued to happen. So it was a few months after that, the dates are a little foggy with me, but it was a few months after that we were at a neurologist in Toronto. And they'd been throwing around the dementia word, which I wasn't really paying a lot of attention to.
Sure.
Joe was 53.
Now, let's just stop
Right.
there because Joe's 53 years old.
Right,
A year younger than me.
right.
Yes, so
Yeah.
you're not thinking dementia.
So I'm not thinking dementia.
No,
I know
of
that
course.
was, one of the things that periodically came out, but it wasn't even on my radar until we got into more extensive testing in Toronto with the neurologist, and a diagnosis of Alzheimer's came back. So at this point, Joe's 54 at this point.
So at 54, your husband of how many years at that point?
Well, at that time, it would have been 15 years
15 years married, and he's diagnosed with Alzheimer's.
at 54. Yeah, life-changing.
I can't even imagine,
Changing.
Patti, in that moment. Do you remember how you felt, how you didn't feel? My goodness.
The only word I can really come up with is numb,
Yeah.
right?
Oh.
Like, I couldn't, at that particular moment, even really process what was being said. I'm sure I didn't capture most of the conversation.
No.
Just reeling with disbelief. Just how can this?
There must be some kind of mistake.
Yeah.
This must, I mean, this is a young...
And honestly, I mean, I knew what probably most people know of Alzheimer's, whatever you know, just kind of superficially. I've never been involved with anybody on an Alzheimer's journey or connected with anybody, so it was totally a new thought process and journey for me.
Right,
So,
right.
For both of us.
Yeah, so, and I don't want to assume everyone knows what Alzheimer's is, but it is.
Well, it's a disease that affects your cognitive ability, and at this point there is no known cure.
Right.
So over time your cognitive continues to decline till eventually you have no recognition of anybody, anything. The brain is literally dying.
It's progressively, right? And there's no cure.
Right.
So you have been put on this journey that no one would choose.
Right, absolutely.
No one would choose.
Yeah.
And so what did, from that life-altering moment, what did the next few years look like, couple of years look like?
Well, I mean, it got to the point where Joe was really struggling at work. I mean, even prior to the prognosis, Joe was struggling with work because that cognitive obviously is critical for what he was doing. And I had some of his sub-trades coming to me with concerns. They'd been working with Joe for years, and Joe always did top quality work.
Right.
With concerns about some mistakes he was starting to make and some things he couldn't figure out. And, you know, he'd measure and cut and it wouldn't be right, and just not in character with who Joe was.
I'm just thinking of that ripple, right? That ripple effect of what, and the grief for so many people that worked with him for so long, and colleagues, and
again, disbelief, like what's going on here? So, you know, it got to the point where he had to stop working. I mean, it was dangerous to him, it was dangerous to other people. He wasn't providing the service that he was accustomed to providing. And we thought, again, it was going to be a little hiatus. Right. But after we got the diagnosis, then it was, okay, I went into the mode of closing down the business. Mentioned about the beautiful custom home Joe had built us. It was a large home on 14 acres, so a lot to look after. We made the decision to sell our home, which was out in the country, and to move into town where services were closer by, people were closer by. So in the space of about 2 months, sold the house, downsized by 2/3, closed Joe's business, auctioned off all his stuff, bought a new place in Huntsville and moved.
And it started with like a devastating diagnosis.
Exactly.
All of my goodness, talk about complex, compounded grief coming at you from so many different directions. Wow. It's just incredible.
But this is one of those times where, and I know you certainly understand this, where you really have to draw on your village.
Absolutely.
Right? Like, I very quickly got to a point where I was reaching out to a lot of people for help. This was way bigger than me. And, you know, a lot of, as you say, a lot of moving parts, a lot of things were going on. And this is when I started to get very intentional in planning about what I was doing and really looking at, okay, because it was huge, there was so much going on. I had to really start to focus on what's my next decision, what's my next move, what's the next one thing that I have to do. I can't look at this whole big elephant, it's way too big. And
who can help me?
And who can help me?
Who can help me? And, you know, the reason that I already loved you before all this, but the thing is why I feel it's so important to have these conversations. In my 27 years of nursing in my life, I've seen so many caregivers, because that's now the role you found yourself in, trying to do it alone. Not wanting to air their dirty laundry, not wanting to share their story, not wanting to ask for help. And what happens? They often become a patient.
Absolutely.
They often die. Like I'm saying, the word die. Because they're so burnt out, they're so isolated. So and you chose not to do that. And I just have such tremendous, I honor you for that, because it's not easy to ask for help sometimes.
No. Well, early on, being a coach, I'm in the mindset of goal setting and achieving and intentional living and all of that. So early on, I set myself 2 goals. Number one, and I mean this with no disrespect to my husband, I love him dearly, but one goal was not to go down with the ship. I knew the direction that Joe was headed in. And number 2 was to, well, probably in reverse, was to always ensure that Joe had the best care possible. Right? And that was more than me.
You're only one person.
It's impossible. Now that I've lived what I've lived, I would encourage anybody who's literally, for whatever reason, deciding not to reach out, to rethink that and reach out. It can be such a different path if you do, if you draw on that village. And one of the things that I discovered on the way was it's not always going to be the same people that are going to walk the journey with you that have maybe been part of your inner circle or that close-knit community that you had going into whatever it is you're trying to navigate. So that was another thing that I became highly intentional about, was creating my inner circle. You know, my 5 or 6 closest people that I could go to at any time in any situation, whether I was in a good space or a really not good space.
Yes.
And I created this group of women that, and it wasn't just all about me. I mean, everybody in life is going through something.
Oh, absolutely.
So we're there to support each other.
You just show up for each other.
You just show up for each other.
And I love that you say you intentionally created your village and your circle, because a lot of people, if they don't have close friends or they don't have family, I say go. There are people out there that care. You
Absolutely.
have to be okay to step out. Is it a church? Is it at this? I think of the Muskoka seniors. They'll take you to the grocery store.
Yes.
There's somebody, and reach out.
Yeah.
Because you need your village. Because if you go down with the ship, you become another person to grieve.
Yes. Yeah. Then you're no good to anybody.
Then you're no good to anybody, especially the person that you want to care for.
Yeah.
So from that, so you created your circle, and Joe was at home with you for quite a while.
For a long time. Yeah. Seemed like a long time. And again, I don't mean that disrespectfully.
No.
It got to be very, very intense. And the next biggest change, I would say, happened about a year ago, November a year ago, was when I really made the decision that Joe was no longer be staying on his own, walking the dog on his own. That independence couldn't.
It was unsafe.
It was unsafe. So that was a huge change in my lifestyle, because now I can't even go to get groceries or do anything. I'm still working.
And that's the other piece, earning a living, because there's the elephant in the room.
Yeah.
You were a 2-income family, now you're a 1.
And we're young.
And you're young, and you can't be a full-time caregiver and bring home the bacon. It's not reality. And so last year, so suddenly you realized he needed 24/7 care.
Absolutely.
Someone with him.
So, that took the asking for help to a whole nother level. And again, I would just encourage anybody to, if you're not sure where to start, like there's, I reached out to the Alzheimer's Society and my Lynn support worker. There's different support agencies out there. If you don't have, friends, family, whatever in your life, there's different agencies out there that's what they're there for. Utilize their services, and they also can get you in touch with other people that can, come alongside of you and support you.
But the reality is they will not be able to be there 24/7, which a lot of people have in their mind. Oh, if this happens, we'll have, the healthcare system will take care of it.
It was a few hours a week.
There you go. And I think that's a very critical thing as well. They will help as much as they can.
Yes.
That will not be 24/7.
Yeah. Well, we need to healthcare is now in our province, in
it's
our
overwhelmed.
country.
There's cracks. So you need your village, and you need to take whatever steps.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So that's, again, where I just really intentionally, I made lists. I made lists of people, like, who can I call? And for those that were able and willing, I became very diligent at my schedule. I had to schedule people in for certain things to be able to
grocery shop,
things that you just take for granted.
Yes,
all the time in normal life were no more. So it was a long, tough winter. Last winter was a tough winter to begin with, and to be I'm a pretty outgoing person, and I like people. I like to be around people. So to be in this situation, it was critical for my well-being and for Joe's. You know, I wanted him to have the best care possible, and I needed breaks so that I could be at my best, or as close to my best as I could
Absolutely.
be. And yeah, so it was an ongoing administrative task.
Yes. I have to tell you, I remember seeing you once. We were at the health food store.
Okay.
And you were, do you remember? And you were broken that day.
Yeah.
And I just remember, like, I had to have a really good cry after I saw you.
Yeah.
And I thought, good for Patti for being out
Right.
in her brokenness,
Yeah.
right?
I know. I remember walking, and as soon as I saw you, I just started crying.
This
like
is a
it was
terrible
just.
thing. She looked terrible. But I just thought good for you, because you knew you just needed to get out there, and you were just feeling so overwhelmed and so broken, and like, how would you not, right? I have no idea. It was like a roller coaster,
Right.
and you had to ride it. And the other piece is because I feel like this, you're sharing your message, not having gone through adversity and it's over. You're in it.
I'm in the middle.
You're still in it.
Yeah.
And you were on my radio show. I just
Yes.
showed up in Huntsville, which you can see on my website. You should listen to that as well.
Yeah.
And you had called me, and you were waiting for a call, and you said, I don't know if I can be on the show. Things are rough. And I said, that's exactly when you should be on it. This is real life. And so the call you were waiting for was?
Well, the decision had been made that, as my goal was to always have the best care for Joe, was that I was no longer that person, and long-term care was our next decision.
Yes,
which
a
had
huge
been made.
one.
Yeah, it had been made a few weeks before that, and I was waiting for the phone to ring. You know,
Yeah.
there again, you make the decision, that gut-wrenching decision that you're no longer that person. That long-term care is the next best step for him. But it doesn't happen right away.
Right.
Then you've got to wait for an opening, and you have no idea how long that's going to take.
Or where exactly, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
So again, don't wait till the last minute. I tried to be as proactive as I possibly could with this, because it was changing quickly.
Yes.
So I was waiting for the phone call when it was time to do the radio show,
Yeah.
and it was like I was a mess.
Yes,
you know,
absolutely.
I was a mess.
That's how I like people. Yes. I said, this is real. You're in it, and let's talk about it. And we shared that journey, and it was soon after you did get that call.
Yes, August 19th, Joe moved into long-term care. So it's been just 3 months today.
3 months oh, there you go. 3 months today. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And how? Well, don't make me cry yet.
I know.
How has it been? I mean, that is a huge decision, a huge transition, and then how have the last 3 months been?
First of all, for Joe, it obviously was a huge change for him. I mean, all of a sudden you're going from being at home with your wife to into a secure wing in a long-term care facility with 32 other people and all the caregivers, everybody that works there. Huge change, but by the grace of God, Joe is in good spirits. He's transitioned pretty well. When I was there to visit with him yesterday, he was having dinner, and I'm sitting beside him, and he actually said to me, I really like it here.
Oh, gosh, thank you.
I know.
Right?
Exactly.
Because
So
I'm glad to hear that.
And he's, you know, Joe's heart is still shining through. He loves to help whenever he can with whatever's going on in the home there. For me, it's been a whirlwind 3 months. I feel like the last month, I've just kind of really started to settle, let the dust settle, and I've taken a few steps back and just really taken some time to just renew, rest,
Yes.
recalibrate.
Oh, my goodness.
And
Absolutely.
last week, actually, I just did a 2-hour 2020 visioning exercise to start. I'm a planner, to start to plan what next year is going to look like for me, business-wise and whatever. But And it's again, I'm doing this in the midst of everything. But my work, as you know, when you do what you love, it's really not work. It helps to fill your cup, right? So it's part of my purpose. It's part of what why I'm here, and teaching this and helping people to navigate whatever challenge, whatever journey they're on. To me, that's part of Joe's legacy.
Well, and that's extraordinary because you are honoring Joe by being the very best version of yourself, and you're spending time with Joe, and I've seen pictures with family, and of course you're still a big part of each other's lives.
Yes.
And you are creating your new normal.
Right.
And I think that you could just help so many people as you're navigating your own adversity.
Yes.
Doesn't mean you have it all figured out.
Yes.
But
No, I don't.
Right? I mean, we're all just figuring this out together, but I just think it's so extraordinary to be navigating through this and still that passion and purpose of helping others, because it gives it purpose. And I love when I asked you what your legacy would be. You said, to ensure this journey with Joe has purpose and meaning by helping as many people as possible to believe that in the possibility of thriving through adversity, and secondly, that they can create their own personal roadmap to achieve that. And I think it's so extraordinary that you are able to do this, and I'm sure you still have your moments.
All the time.
Where you look like you did in the health food store.
Totally.
But that's okay.
It is
right?
okay.
That's okay. And I want to thank you so much for being open, honest, and sharing your story. And is it okay if people reach out to you if they're going through the same kind of journey? Where should they connect with you?
I would suggest that you email me at Patti, P-A-T-T-I, at kinergyleadership.com. That's K-I-N-E-R-G-Y, leadership.com.
All right.
Yeah, definitely reach out. You don't want to take the journey alone. You don't have to take the journey alone.
No, and we don't have to. And so thank you again. We're going to hug it out after.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
It's been truly an honor, always, my friend. Thank you.
Yeah.
So thanks so much for joining us. Real Life Talks is about learning how to just show up for yourself and just show up for others, and sometimes have hard conversations, but it is also about connecting with wonderful people. So my call to action is always, if you want to be able to just show up for yourself, you want to be able to just show up for others, plan your life, plan your death, and then just love your life to death. And always bring your own tambourine to the party. Bye for now.